I knew I wasn't fine. And so I went down a path where I needed to, I started going to the doctor. They wanted to put me on medication. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And he's like, well, in 6 months, if you don't change, I'm going to have to do it. He said, Mike, I want you to plan your health like you would plan your money.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Behind Their Success podcast. Today we have on Mike Milligan. He is the founder of Ideas by Mike and One Oak Financial. He is a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience guiding entrepreneurs and families to build purpose-driven wealth. From lessons learned at his grandmother's dining room table to creating truly personalized financial plans. Mike is passionate about helping people connect their money and their values so they can live a healthier, wealthier, and more impactful life. Mike, I love that. Welcome on Behind Their Success.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward to speaking with your listeners and having a great conversation with you today.
Before we hit the record button, we were talking about Mike living in Puerto Rico and the tax benefits of all that. So I kind of started nerding out on that. We'll jump into that a little bit. But Mike, tell me about your story. Like, okay, where did Mike come from? How did he develop into kind of what he is today, and kind of what businesses are you running now?
So I'm originally from North Carolina. My roots were, and still are very deep in North Carolina. I still have a lot of family there. I always tell a story where I began my entrepreneur journey. Like it was at the dining room table of my grandmother's home. She, through necessity, had to start a business. Not because she necessarily wanted to. She was a stay-at-home mom and a wife, but my grandfather, who owned a construction company, suddenly got cancer and couldn't continue his business anymore. And so the one thing my granny knew how to do was she knew how to cook. And people loved coming to their house on Sunday afternoons. We had big family dinners there, but people in general just would stop by. And she always had the gift of cooking and the hospitality that went along with it. That hospitality, what she didn't realize is that she had to earn money, and that money she had to earn was she was only going to get it through cooking. And so she brought an 11-year-old me with her to sell collared sandwiches at construction sites where my grandfather used to work.
Wow.
And so we would come back after selling collared sandwiches, and we would count the money. I would put it in a spiral bound notebook, and that's how my journey began. I saw, I didn't learn these lessons. I was catching everything she was doing, but I didn't know what she was doing until I, later went to college. I worked in corporate America for a while. And then when I decided to go out and start my own business, I looked back and I said, I'm going to follow some of the greatest entrepreneurs out there. So I started reading everything about Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and, every great entrepreneur. And then I thought, well, wait, my granny was an entrepreneur. And so I started thinking about her story and how she actually built her business. And so I decided to build ZGP Financial was the first company that I built and sold. Then I built Championship College Planning, also sold that one. Then I said, I'm going to build something that I never want to sell. And that's going to be a corporate title, Ideas by Mike. But like out in the financial markets, it's known as One Oak Financial. One Oak stands for one of a kind. And it's just from a core belief that I believe everybody is unique. They have purpose. And I don't think everybody should have a financial plan that is catered to what Wall Street or banks or insurance companies want to do. I think they should be unique as they are, so that they can go live their one of a kind life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I can tell me and you have a lot of similar philosophies when it comes to finance and stuff. And just even, in your intro, when you're talking about healthier, wealthier, we talk, our tagline is creating healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs, the old
right.
Ben Franklin, right? And it is a holistic life, right? Like everything in your life affects everything, right? And you kind of had a journey, right, of health where you lost over 100 pounds, correct?
I did, right? I was on that journey of going from the dining room table through corporate America to my own entrepreneur. There was also a lot of time spent on a baseball field. I was a pretty good baseball player. I couldn't run, but I could throw a baseball and I could hit a baseball. So I got to some pretty high levels beyond into pro ball, where I was actually getting paid to play some baseball. But after I quit playing baseball, quite honestly, I probably was, they would probably say I was depressed, like if a medical person.
Yeah. Well, you kind of lose your identity, right?
Absolutely. And so for 15 years, when I was playing baseball, I was 6'3", 200 pounds. 15 years after I was done playing baseball, I had gained 10 pounds a year. I mean, do the math. 15 years. Times 10.
Like how normal that, really is. It's easy to do. Yeah.
And so I had gotten up to 350 pounds, and I was, I had some people in my life that would say, you're fine. Because again, I'm 6'3". It's not like I'm, as a 350 pound, I'm not like crazy.
Yeah, you're a big guy anyway.
Right. Big guy anyway. But like I had some people who would, just say, hey, you're fine. And I knew I wasn't fine. And so I went down a path where I needed to, I started going to the doctor. They wanted to put me on medication. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And he's like, well, in 6 months, if you don't change, I'm going to have to do it. And he said, but I want you to, the doctor was one of my clients. So he knew my financial planning process. He said, Mike, I want you to plan your health like you would plan your money. He said, your financial planning process is amazing. So plan. And so I did, right? And so one of the concepts I have is like, I have this whole belief that you can have anything you want, but you can't have everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so, and it's just, and so what I started thinking is, okay, well, 80% of your health is what you eat. And I'm like, okay, well, I need to stop eating fast food. I need to stop eating fried things. I need to stop eating red meat. I need to stop eating pork. And so what I did is I limited, I didn't go to fast food restaurant for 5 years. And that one change right there put my intake, my food, on a different path. And then I just started working out. I started getting steps, and then I went to Orange Theory Fitness, and I would do that 5 or 6 times a week. Now I'm a little more on a maintenance level where I'm like 2 to 4 times a week. But I went from 350 pounds to 235 pounds. And I've been able to kind of maintain my health. My cholesterol is beyond crazy good. Blood pressure is great, but I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate like their health journey, and they'll depend. Just like people depend on financial companies to do the right thing for them, they'll depend on medicine to do the right thing for them. But the remedies are the same, right? Take this investment product that we only recommend. Medicine, take this pill, and then. But both of those, whether you take an investment portfolio or medicine, they cause other problems along the way.
Yeah. It's like a one size fits all solution, right?
Exactly. That's why we're one of a kind, right? Because we don't want to be one size fits all. We want people, and listen, there's a lot of people who need to follow a one size fits all model because of fears or anxiety or mistrust, or they've had a bad relationship before, and you need to do that, right? But if you can clear off that and build vision for yourself, right? If you can build a vision for your life and what you want to live, then you can build a one of a kind financial plan, a one of a kind tax strategy, a one of a kind health journey, right? And when you do that, it just it opens up your life to be something a whole lot more than what just the status quo is.
Yeah. And it's amazing, while my health journey hasn't been near as dramatic as, yours has, Mike, I fell in love with it 5+ years ago, and really fell in love with, going to the gym and working out and developing myself and setting new goals constantly and continue to develop myself. And like, the amazing thing is, it's like, the reason I love that so much is because it's such a microcosm of life in general, of like, hey, with time and energy, and you put it into something and you practice it, you will get better. and like, as long as you have that belief, like, Tom Ballou, who does a Impact Theory, a podcast, he always talks about like the only belief that matters is that if you believe that you can put time and energy into something and get better at it, that's really the only belief that matters. But if you don't have that belief, like you have this fixed mindset and everything's fixed and stuck and you can't do anything. But like, I think it's really important to point out is like, you started with like one thing, right? You're like, your first line, your first standard you drew was like, okay, I don't eat fast food.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just let that thing compound out. And not only did you let the fast food thing compound out, then you're like, oh, once you take that first step, you start feeling a little bit better. The fast food's not eating it. Then you're like, oh, what else can I add to this, right? And then you keep adding these little tweaks as you go along the way, and people don't realize how far and how fast they can get there if they just start on the journey.
Well, everybody wants like a simple solution, a quick pill or a quick fix, and anything worth having in life requires compounding, right? It's
100%.
Compounding decisions daily. It just requires just little changes. It's not restrictive, by the way, because you know how much, like, when I changed from going to fast food, like how the quality of my life changed, right? I went from this. All of a sudden, what I realized is I was just, I was hungry, so I would take 15 minutes and I would stop at whatever restaurant, grab food and go. Yeah. And I was always rushing. Now, all of a sudden, I was, I got one of those meal services that delivered the food to my house. And now I had to, take 45 minutes to cook a meal, right? But then I could also, it would lower my stress. And so like there were just, when you make a small change like that, it's not limiting. No, it can actually be really freeing. Yeah. And that's the point that everybody, I hope, hears, is if you just make one change from a health standpoint, and for some people, it's going to be, getting out and walking 10,000 steps. You know how long it takes you to walk 10,000 steps in a day? It's hours, right? That's not a commitment that takes 15 minutes. But so, maybe it's a commitment to, instead of going to 10, I'm going to walk 1,000 more today. Now that's like 15, 20 minutes, right? Yeah. But for others, it's going to be like, it's trendy right now to give up alcohol, for instance.
Yeah.
And that's, we're seeing that all over Instagram, and a lot of entrepreneurs especially are giving up alcohol because they want.
I'm down that rabbit hole myself, right?
Right. I mean, we've even made famous things like dry January, where we're not going to drink in January. Those kind of peaks and valleys where, I'm not going to drink for January, and then all of a sudden February comes around and the Super Bowl happens and you get hammered for 27 out of 28 days. I mean, that's not really healthy.
Yeah, sure.
Right? It's really more about sustainable goals in life than it is. I mean, it's like with anything, with your health or your money, anything that, like, yes, people get wealthy buying crypto over 20 days using an algorithm, right? But those are only the stories we hear. The stories we don't hear are the people that put in 25,000 and now got zero.
10 million other people that got
correct
actual results.
That's exactly right.
It's wild. Yeah. Taking those steps on the health journey and those little tweaks is that, I mean, as you take those steps, the next steps become easier. And I think it's, people are always looking for a quick solution, right? And it's not a quick solution, but there are simple solutions, right? Like you say, we overcomplicate it. And it's really just a couple basic things that'll get you, 90% of the way of where you want to go is just like burn a little bit more calories, eat a little less calories. And yes, disclaimer, that doesn't fix every problem. I understand that, but that'll get you a long ways down that road, and you can figure out those other problems along the way. It's kind of my point.
That's right. What do you do for working out?
I've been in weightlifting for probably the last 5 years, where I consistently lift weights, almost like bodybuilding type workouts. I'm kind of in the middle of 75 hard right now, which is, it is what it is. And the reason I like 75 hard is not really even the physical challenges, because it's not, I don't really have a problem. Like I've worked out so long now that I enjoy it. So like going to work out is not like a problem for me. But the mental lock-in that 75 hard forces me to do, right? Like if I gotta do all these tasks and I have to do them every day, and you cannot mess them up. And like it just locks me in. It's like I said, you start drawing. You make a decision. Like if you make a decision that I'm not going to drink alcohol anymore, like it frees up your mind. Like drawing standards and lines actually can be very freeing, because your mind is not thinking about that anymore, right? It's like, young men, they spend most of their time like chasing girls and whatever. But like, as soon as they get married, and if they lock in and commit to that, how much of their time is freed up now? Because, they're not, I mean, it's just another example of that, how decisions and structure actually force you to focus in on what you want. So if you can smartly draw those lines, it'll focus you.
There's no doubt. I mean, we could stop the podcast right now and just say, man, we've given so much value on this one. But
Yeah.
I mean, hey, congratulations for doing 75 hard, by the way. That is
I'm only 25 days in. So.
You're a third of the way there, which is great. Andy calls that a mental toughness challenge.
Yeah, that's why it's not physical, really.
To me. It's not. It's doing something every day, and you've done it for 25 days. So I mean, you're locked in, right? It's just, I mean, it's just a matter of now. It's time management, not getting derailed one day because, I mean, there's only 24 hours a day, and it takes you probably about 2 or 3 hours to do everything in that challenge. Just don't get derailed, and you're gonna finish this thing strong.
For me, I want to use this to become like, okay, this is more my default lifestyle. Like, I want to learn and take some of these tasks to make it like my daily routine. I'm probably not going to do everything all the time, obviously, but like make more of those things my default, and live. I mean, just raising the bar a little bit, right?
Are you looking for a new tax experience? Looking for an advisor that actually brings you high-level ideas and proactively plans so you aren't overpaying your taxes? Or how about one that even just responds and communicates in a timely fashion? If any of that resonates with you, you probably just have a tax preparer and not a tax planner. And it is through the tax planning process where all the value is found. And when tax planning is done right, it has a positive return on investment. I'm Peyton Squires. I'm a CPA and owner of Squires Tax Planning. We work alongside entrepreneurs and high-income earners, helping them pay the least amount of income taxes, both legally and ethically. We have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars through specific strategies, and we guarantee we can find multiple tax strategies that your current tax preparer hasn't told you about. If that interests you, head over to squirestaxplanning.com. There you can take our free assessment to see how likely it is that you are overpaying on your income taxes. From there, you can also book a free tax discovery call with our team to see what it would look like to have us working for you.
Let's talk about Puerto Rico. This is something that, as a tax planner myself, it is very interesting. Mike lives in Puerto Rico, and kind of explain why and why you're there.
So I split my time 6 months in a day.
183 days, right?
Yeah, in Puerto Rico, and my wife and I live in San Juan. But my corporate headquarters for my businesses are back in Norfolk, Virginia. And there's a personal and professional reasons why we're here. I'll just, the quick on the personal side is my wife is half Puerto Rican. Her mom was born on the island. Her grandparents lived and worked, and they were 100% Puerto Rican. So she wanted to get back to the culture. We both wanted to learn Spanish. She's much further along than I am. But I mean, the second reason is it's tax incentives. The biggest import into Puerto Rico are tax incentives. They have a program called Act 60 that if you are an entrepreneur and a business owner and you can work remotely and still operate a business back on the mainland, you can import as a consultant money from your business into Puerto Rico. It's an expense to your business in the United States, which means you don't pay tax on it. And in Puerto Rico, to a corporation you set up here, you only pay a corporate tax rate of up to 4%. So like for a business owner who's got passed through and, they're in the 32% bracket, 26% effective, would you rather pay 26 or would you rather pay 4? And it allows for, like for me, what it allows for is it's part wealth building, but it's also expansion, right? It allows me to, not having the IRS. I know I'm going to get audited one day, so I just speak the truth, right? I'm not trying to hide behind what we're doing, but because our books and records are really clean on this. But, if I save, like personally, I save 27.6% in taxes between federal and state, Virginia state taxes. That 27 cents on every dollar that we make, if I reinvest half of that into growth of One Oak Financial, I mean, it's almost a competitive disadvantage to everybody we're working against.
Yeah.
And
you
then
have
if
way less drag on your performance and everybody
correct.
else.
And then if I save 12% for me and my wife personally. Well, now we're getting ahead financially. Now we're still saving what we saved before, maxing out retirement plans, all the such. But now we're also saving 12% in a brokerage account, right? Our net worth is growing faster. And both of us are first generation wealth folks, right? We didn't come from anything. We didn't inherit. We're not going to inherit. So we need to use everything we can do to, build wealth for ourselves, for our kids, ultimately get to our goals in life, our retirement goals. The third part of it, I said it's personal and it's professional. The next thing is we just live on an island, right? And a lot of, that's right. And a lot of people want to say, well, what about the hurricanes? That's 6 or 7 days a year, maybe at most, right? We still haven't had, in 2025, there's been zero impact, right? There's one that went just a little north of us, but it just created 8-foot waves for the surfers to go out and surf. It's that's not that big of a deal. But, it's, they say, what about the power or the internet? Well, we have it 99.
You're on this podcast.
Right. That's right. We have it 99% of the time, and some people will say, well, you shouldn't move somewhere just for taxes. Yet we do that all the time in the United States. People retire from Illinois and they move to Florida. People retire from New York and they move to Florida. People go from California to Nevada. We'll move. People move all the time for 6-7% state income tax savings because the weather's great. Most people, when they hear about the Puerto Rico incentive as business owners, they're like, wow, that's nice. And then they need to consider it. And we have some outlets. I was just telling you on beforehand, like last night, we had a entrepreneur event where 200.
You've got a bunch of great communities down there.
Oh, right. We do. Right. Yeah. There was 250 entrepreneurs that were here. Most are from the mainland. Some are from Europe and other islands. But, Uncommon Entrepreneurs is one group that gets together. Another one is the San Juan Social Club. San Juan Social Club does a cruise every year in March. It's a 7-day event that is it's just absolutely amazing because you're on a boat with 500 other entrepreneurs who, there's coaching and mentoring and, and if you're truly an entrepreneur, you live the entrepreneur spirit. It's that cruise is not a vacation. Right. You go do a few cool things.
Workshops. You're working on yourself, right?
all the time. Right. And it's one of the best. And there's obviously there's financial planners there. A few of us, there's real estate folks, there's marketing, crypto companies that operate businesses, media companies. And you just learn from people. And, if you ever feel like you haven't found your group of entrepreneurs that want to grow and be like you, well, you have to go find that group. And we found our group in Puerto Rico.
Just follow up what you say there. Absolutely. And that's been a huge game changer for me. I've found a really great group, in the last few years that has really elevated me. And,
right.
And to your other point of capital's going to go where it's treated best. And I know as much as people hate that or unpatriotic or what, sometimes that upsets people, but it's just a fact. The capital is going to move around to where it's treated best. Ultimately, it'll eventually move to where Puerto Rico or wherever else they think they can operate the most efficiently.
Right. Well, we all have to be I have a son who's in the U.S. Navy. It's not that I'm not patriotic to the United States, right? I love the United States. I love North Carolina. I love Virginia. I love everywhere I've visited. I love the national parks. We have offices in Norfolk and that stretch across the United States all the way to Honolulu. We're a national firm in what we do. I love the United States. But at the end of the day, right, it's about for an entrepreneur, right, it's about making money and then retaining as much of it as you can. And it's the same thing for our clients, right? We want to do the same thing. So as opposed to for instance, having a bank, a money sitting in a bank in a CD earning 3% where the bank is lending it out at 8%. So the bank is making more money than you're making. Well, we want to negotiate to try to find a way to get you more income off of there. And it's the same thing when it comes to taxes. Taxes are the largest expense you'll ever have in your life. It's not even close, right, to any other expense you're going to have. And they'll say, oh, well, what about your house? It's not even close.
Not over the course of your life. Not even close.
That's right. I've done the numbers and you've done the numbers. And so like if I can find a way for a portion of my life, I'm not saying that Leon and I are committed to Puerto Rico from now until our death, but for the next 6, 8, 10, 12 years, if we could save 23, 24, 25% taxes,
compound that for a few years.
Correct. Right. There is no, you cannot negotiate an asset under management fee down or anything on a financial product. You can't negotiate that down low enough. You can't negotiate a CPA's fee. You can't negotiate an attorney's fee. Nothing you could do to negotiate would be better than the tax savings you can have by making strategic tax moves. Puerto Rico is probably a little more insane for most people.
Yeah, most people just won't consider it and probably shouldn't. Right?
They probably shouldn't because they have kids and grandkids and family and all that. But there are so many tax strategies in the tax code that if you get with a really good tax planner, that you could save 3, 4, 5% in taxes per year. And if you do that, right, compound a saving of 3 to 5% in taxes over 25 years. And look what that does.
You're getting me excited. You're speaking. Yeah. So, we preach this to our clients every day and we try to help clients every day and reach out to new people every day, talking to them about the importance of tax planning and how big of effect, not only it's not just like 1 year savings, but, savings all this money, every year through real strategic planning. And you either reinvest that money or put it in your own net worth or whatever, and let that compound out. Like strategic planning will, going to have a massive effect of where you end up.
Absolutely. Entrepreneurs are not stupid people. They've realized a problem and they found the solution and then they profited off that. The interesting thing is before they knew that problem existed, the problem wasn't solved out there, right? The problem was there beforehand. I'd almost say something that, I say all the time when I go on podcasts, and I know you're a CPA, but I know you're not the CPA I'm getting ready to talk about, right? A CPA is nothing but a historian who, because every year they take documents from the past, they put them on a form, and that historical document becomes the tax return.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between a CPA who does tax returns and a CPA who does tax planning, because the 3 to 5% in tax savings is done through planning, not doing the return. And an entrepreneur, once they hear that and then they actually go through a tax planning session, they will all of a sudden want more and more tax planning. And that's where a good tax planner comes into play.
Yeah. And here's the thing. When we go in entrepreneur situations, like, as our firm, we're, obviously you're preaching to the choir. When we go in entrepreneur situation, we're designing a deal. Like we're coming in. It's like, hey, we're going to help you do all this, and you're going to have a return on investment with working with us. Meaning, it's like we're going to provide you way more value than we're charging you by helping you strategically move things around and make your situation much more efficient. So it's like once that clicks in with entrepreneurs, and I tell them that, they're like, oh, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
But it's trying to explain that, right?
Yeah, and I wrote a book called The One of a Kind Financial Plan. I mean, just it puts into detail more of like our financial planning process.
Yeah.
But taxes are of the 5 key pillars of our plan. Taxes are the number one thing, because if you don't have a real tax plan, you're doing exactly what the IRS and the government wants you to do. And most of the time that's overpaying taxes or taking tax money when they want you to, like required minimum distributions, or, when you pass away, the leaky tax that comes out, because of, how your kids inherit money. There is tax strategy that if you sit down with a really qualified person who's got the time, right? This comes back to discipline, right? It's like that whole not eating fast food. Yeah. When you don't eat fast food, you got more time. So if you sit down with somebody who's got time in their schedule to actually do the planning with you and is just not trying to put you into whatever, like a one size fits all solution, then all of a sudden you're going to realize the benefits are huge with a true tax planner on your side.
Yeah. To me, it's an industry problem. Like that, it's an industry problem that, the vast majority of tax returns are done by mom and pop CPA firms, call it 15 people or less. And they're generalists and they do taxes for everybody. And all their work is jammed into a, call it a 12-week timeline. And they have no interest in doing tax planning with you, right? Like they literally are incentivized to, and once again, this is generally speaking, but like they're incentivized to get tax returns done. And their model is not looking forward. And it's right. Like people keep going there and asking for something that they don't even do.
It's a good business, right?
Yeah. It's cash now. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a good business for them, but like, because really what they're doing, like, again, they're just taking the information you provide them, they're putting it on another piece of paper, and then they're just reconciling numbers. But maybe there's a suggestion in there to like, hey, why don't you put 7,000 into a traditional IRA?
Well, you can put some money in an IRA.
Yeah. Right. And a lot of people think that's tax planning. Well, that's not full-fledged tax planning.
That's a suggestion.
That's right. It's a suggestion, right? And so there's a lot of things that come into tax planning. I mean, like there's and there's all these strategies like the Augusta rule, right? That trust me, everybody in Augusta, Georgia knows this rule, right? Because
the funny thing is, I don't know they do, because I have a buddy in my group that is from Augusta, and I had to explain it to him.
Really? Holy cow! I mean, you have a.
He's like, I thought what?
Yeah, I mean, you have a part of the tax code that was created for a golf tournament
after
that came
you.
just for you, right? It was named after you, and you don't know what it is. But I mean, it's like before we were in Puerto Rico, we used this, right? We have a pool in our backyard. It's meant for entertaining, and so my wife was a realtor. I have my business. We would have
real estate professional, was she?
Yeah, she was she's still a real estate professional, but she would have client events. She would have 5 or 6 client events there a year. I would do like corporate retreats. Like I'd bring everybody into our office, and we just had like July 4th this year. We just had a party at my house, like July 3rd, where I brought everybody over. And like the great thing about that is if it's business related and you do it 14 times or less per year, you can take the money out of your business, bring it into your home, and you don't pay tax on it. And it's legal, right? It's not like it, and it's not even,
you document it, and there's justifiable reason behind it. Absolutely, it's legal.
It's not even gray, right? It's not even gray.
It's very common. And here's the thing: 99% of businesses don't do it because they'll go to their CPA. I'll say something, or they'll see a TikTok video, whatever. They go to their CPA, and their CPA will say, "Oh, it's just a few $1,000. Like, do you really want to mess with it? Whatever." Because they literally never built any processes around helping clients do that. Me and my firm, we got great processes. We make it super easy on you that we document, check all the boxes. We have like if you ever were to be audited, well, here's the file, here's the documentation. They're just not even set up to help you.
It's also one of those things that in the grand world of, it's not used that much in the IRS world. So if you did get audited and you told them what you did it for, and you got like we have a yacht club that's down the road that's somewhat comparable to us in rental space. We have their rental rate sheet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We pull comps. We do it all.
Yeah. Just as common practice every year, every January, we get their rate sheet for the year, and we just put it in our tax folder, right? That way, if we ever get audited, we can say, look,
like, we didn't just make this up.
Right. No. Yeah. And it's if you, yes, it's 3, 4, I mean, it could be 3, 4, 5,000 per event.
It just really depends, but it's probably several $1,000s for most people. For sure.
Yeah. If you did it 10 or 12 times a year, now think about the tax-free. People always want tax-free income. Well, that's what that is. It's tax-free income. You make it in your business. You pay yourself. You just shift it to you, and it's tax-free. Yeah. So, and there's a lot of other things out there.
There's a million things you can do, right? And I could sit here and talk about this all day.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's important, and of course, it's important to work. If that's what you're looking for, stop going to, the same firms and expecting something to happen there, because they just don't do that.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, we have the same thing. Like, I mean, I know you're a CFP too. We have the same thing where people continue to work with XYZ bank down the corner. Right. And they just, as a general rule, they just, they're just babysitting your money.
Yeah.
And you're paying a very expensive fee for them to babysit your money. Same thing working with like major firms and, CFPs
Well, you
are
got
not
no advisor, say your money's sitting in some large firm and it's just sitting there and they're charging you a large asset under management fee and there's not a person you can even talk to. That kind of thing.
And we're making light of it, right? But this is real money that everyday middle Americans, people that have worked hard, it's just they're losing the money game. And a lot of times they lose it because they feel ashamed to ask the question. They feel like there's nobody who's really out for them. They feel like the system is rigged against them. But guys, there are people out there. There's like our two firms, right? We're out here that we're not going to take advantage of your situation. We educate first. And when you educate first and you understand, it helps you negotiate better. It helps you with us or with whoever. And when you can negotiate better, when you can negotiate with confidence, then you're going to end up winning more when it comes to your money.
Yeah. I love that you say that. I can tell you take a lot of the same approaches I do with clients of just like, well, let's just lay it out all on the table here. Here's the pros and cons of everything. And I'm here to help you make a really educated choice, and ultimately it's your choice. I have what I think maybe you should do, but I can't force you to do anything, but I can educate you on it. Help you make that decision. So moving to you, Mike, obviously we got lots of entrepreneurs, me and you work with lots of entrepreneurs and that's the vast majority of this listenership. Like what, if you were to give them just overarching one piece of financial advice that you think is just really important, what would that be?
That's a good question. The thing that ruins small businesses more than anything is not paying your taxes. And I'm sure with over 100 podcasts, when you've asked people before, you've probably heard that multiple times, like pay your taxes. But the great thing about being an entrepreneur is there's something that you can do first, and that's pay yourself first. Mm-hmm. See, most people, so like the pay your taxes is the overarching general kind of one size fits all approach. Here's like my advice for entrepreneurs is to pay yourself first. Most people go into entrepreneurship to get their time back. Yep. But what they really have done is they have just created a job now that they own.
Oh, 100%.
That's
so guilty for a lot of years of that.
Yeah, me too. And there's peaks and throughs. So they, instead of owning a business that works with you and for you, they just own a business where they own a job. And so, not only are they doing a full-time job that they can give to somebody else to do and leverage that, but they're doing that job plus they're doing the business ownership.
Try to run the business at the same time on the side, right?
Yeah, an entrepreneur is right. There's a badge of honor out there that, I work 100 hours a week. Well, that's not.
I used to wear that proudly, and I don't want it at all anymore.
Now we're starting to come into a period of time where they're like, I work 4 hours a week, right? I only work 4 hours a week and I make $100 million, right? I mean, those people are few and far between, but they have the idea of a business, right? Like you own a business when the business can operate independent of you. That's a business. You own a job when everything is dependent on you. And, I'm guilty because I own a couple of businesses now. I have one business that there's nothing it doesn't require. It requires maybe 20 minutes from me a week. And it's a really good 7-figure business. It's really good business. There's 3 employees in that. They're running it. It's great. And again, it just does not involve my time. The only time it really involves my time is doing the financial work with the accountant in September, right? Just got an email this morning that my accountant
got that extended tax return done.
That's right. Got an extended tax return. And they're like, hey, don't forget to get this in, right? And then there's a business like what I enjoy doing is I love being with people in person talking about the financial problems they have. Well, that business has a bottleneck with me, right? Yeah. Because there's so many people that want to speak with me, but like there's only so much time in the day. And so, my team that runs One Oak Financial, they do a really good job of getting the most high, people with the biggest problems, people that are falling into like the idea that they really want to be one of a kind. And so like one of the things I would say is to a business owner, manage your time very well, own your business, and then don't be afraid to hire people to do the work that you can do. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that'll do $12 and $15 per hour job
all day long.
And, how we create jobs, how we grow America's economy is we hire those people out, and then they'll, and I'm guilty of this too. I've used virtual assistants overseas. So I'll start there where, you pay less than what you would pay here for somebody who could do a remote job. And then when it becomes more, right, then you hire somebody here locally to do that. But the biggest advice I can give is try to own your business. Don't let it own you.
And the only way you can do that is put in organization, right? And just the general stereotype personality of an entrepreneur that, they're generally this high A driving person and not necessarily wanting to slow down to do anything detailed. That's right. Not every entrepreneur, but that is like kind of the profile of an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, you see that a lot where, they're just running 100 miles an hour and there's not a system ever been built. It's all in their head and they're running around and they have to solve every problem because nobody else knows how to solve it without them. And some people, I probably in that group, get addicted to that to where you're like, oh, I'm this important person and everything has to go through me. And some of that you got to get over a little bit yourself. And it's having that confidence and investing in other people, knowing that, they're good too. And, if they can do it, 80% the way you can do it, you really need to get rid of it.
I was literally getting ready to say 80%, the same thing that you just said, because it's so true, right? Nobody can see the problem solved like in your head the way you can. But boy, if you can allow somebody else who can do it 80% of the way you will, right? And the client is good with that. Your customer is good with that, right? And you've put your customer in a better situation. That 80% that somebody else done allows you to go do more work.
Yeah, higher leverage work, right? Just right. Higher leverage work, right? And it's man, I've never been so more clear in what I need to be working on in my own business of like, man, I finally actually have my head up a little bit, right? Where I'm actually looking down the field instead of what email just came in or what do we have to do today, right? And really successful people, they're looking years down the road, not, the longer your time frame your decisions are made on, just generally the more successful you're going to be.
That's right.
Playing the longer game, the infinite game, you're going to be more successful in a lot of ways.
There's no doubt about that.
Mike, man, this has been an amazing conversation. I appreciate you coming on. What's the best way people can learn more about you, your firm, or just really anything else you got going on?
Well, there's two ways. I very much believe, if you've heard, that everybody's one of a kind. I don't think that anybody should be like anybody else. So, I have this saying, like, you should be one of a kind. Like every day, wake up, be one of a kind. My other big saying is never miss a moment. Because, a moment missed is an opportunity lost. So I give people, really two chances to connect with me. You can connect with me personally just by going to MikeMilligan.com. There you're going to find some interesting tools, right? I have the one-of-a-kind financial plan, the book that's there. I have another book called Retirement Deja Vu that people can log in and see more details. I also teach at a college in Virginia called Old Dominion University, where we teach a personal financial planning class. It's a 6-week course on how to negotiate with big companies. So it's $199 course that we run 100 people every 6 weeks. We're sold out for the September cohort, but we're already starting the October cohort. But it's great because it's a group of people that are looking to learn together on how to be more successful. And, we don't expect anything from them except for at the end, they're more educated on what to do. So you can find more information there on MikeMilligan.com. On our firm, you can go to One Oak Financial. That's the number oneoakfinancial.com. And there you'll be able to learn more about our team, where we're located, what our philosophy is on managing money, and just what sets us apart in a very crowded space. And I think what you'll find is what sets us apart is that we're more focused on what Wall Street and Main Street's doing.
Yeah, Mike, I appreciate that. And once again, as a guy that's dedicated my life mostly to financial education and those types of things, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people. as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Peyton Squires, or going to PeytonSquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.